What's up, my dudes? So this is the first impressions, not review of MX vs. ATV All Out. Sorry, I gotta say it like that because some of you idiots out there think that my first impression videos are full reviews, and I really think the only reason that is because you people can't find a reason to hate on me, so you just make one. But other than that, shout out to Ailo Finnestrand for the $7 donation. He says, Spencer, you're amazing. Well, I appreciate that, bud. Who's actually amazing is you for supporting me, and that is just something I will never be able to thank you guys enough for that. The people that have donated and watched the videos over the years, I mean, there's nothing I can say that's even going to come close to explaining my appreciation for that. So, but I thank you so much for that donation, man. It means a lot to me. So, MX versus ATV All Out. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be coming to me for the real talk opinion on this game because you can't hardly trust any of these motherfuckers out here these days. They don't tell it like it is, so we're going to be no bullshit, no sugarcoating, no holding back anything. You guys know what it is, so let's get right into it. Okay, now, one of the biggest things I have to say right off the bat is this game has a skill gap to it. Okay, this is one of my biggest concerns with any arcade motocross game out there is the skill gap, because if it's not hard enough and if it's not enough of a challenge, then it makes it to where the game just gets boring because there's not a whole lot of competition with it. You can't really feel like you get better at the game or anything. But this game definitely has a skill gap to it. That's one of the very first things you'll notice about the game. Thank you, the motocross gaming gods. You've answered my prayers. That's the biggest thing to all of it, in my opinion, is it has to have a true skill gap. It can't just feel like you can do whatever you want to on the bike and just land it or just survive. Or you know how a lot of arcade motocross games, especially some of the more recent ones, feels like you can just do anything. You can lean however you want to. You can come up short on anything that you want to. You can overjump anything, do anything, and you're not going to crash. It's like way too beginner friendly. Well, with this game, if you come up short on something, like if you have your front just a little bit too far down when you land on something, it will knock you off of the bike. It will actually pop you off the bike. And if you turn too sharp in a corner, like you just try to lay it all the way over, either you will slide the bike completely over and lose all of your momentum, or you will just fall off the bike, like literally fall off the bike. So there is definitely a risk to just riding the bike like a maniac. You can't just hop on here on day one and ride it like you stole it. It takes a second to learn it. It does have a learning curve to it. It feels like if you're really riding that bike like a crazy person, the bike is going to almost ride you more than you ride it. And with a lot of these recent arcade motocross games, they've just felt like you could master them in 5 seconds. You could just master them in half a day. And I can already tell you guys from a true, honest opinion, and this is coming from a dude that plays MX Simulator, okay? So I'm probably a little more on the, what you would call like quote-unquote hardcore skill side of it, right? And I'm still saying it's got a skill gap to it. This is how skill gaps are supposed to be with arcade motocross games. They're supposed to feel like it's a little bit scary on the bike at first, right? It feels like the bike has a little bit more control than you can handle at first. That's what it's supposed to feel like, and that's what this game does feel like. It feels like the turning, like you can't just turn the thumbsticks all the way around a corner or you're going to spin all the way around, right? It gives you enough movement to where you really start to kind of feel like you're building a skill in the game from the very get-go. You start to kind of feel like, oh man, if I kind of hit the brakes and work myself to the inside of a corner, maybe I can hit it faster, but it's going to take some skill to do that without spinning out. All those elements are in there, right? Now, one big question you might ask right off the bat is, which other MX versus ATV game does this game feel most like? Because I know a lot of people were kind of thinking, including me, by seeing some of the early gameplay, that it was going to feel a lot like MX vs. ATV Unleashed, or, you know, one of those games. You know, we were kind of thinking it might feel identical to that. And honestly, after playing it here, I've kind of came to the conclusion that it's really more of its own game than anything. I mean, that's what I would say, honestly, about it. It's really more of its own kind of thing. Sorry, guys, I'm doing all this live right here, so my thoughts are kind of getting over in one direction, and I'm just completely Larry looping out on some stuff here. But the actual filling on the bike and all that kind of stuff, it's really just its own thing. And some of us kind of speculated that from the beginning. Either it's going to feel like Reflex or feel like Unleashed or something like that, or it's just going to be its own thing. And I would definitely angle more towards the side of it just kind of being more of its own thing. That's really what it feels like to me. Now, yes, you can definitely feel a little bit of similarities here and there. I mean, it definitely feels like an MX versus ATV game, which is good. You can feel some similarities to like Unleashed, but not as much as I was thinking from seeing the gameplay. You might feel somewhat of similarities to maybe Supercross Encore. The look of everything might kind of give you a little bit of a similar feel to like Supercross Encore or something like that. But I still feel like it's more of its own thing than anything at the end of the day here. So, yeah. Now, the game did crash on me 2 or 3 times on PC. The first time it crashed, I think they were putting like one of the really early updates into the game here. So that is, look at this map. Good God, man. I just have to say right now, this Freeride map, let me hit that rock right quick, dude. Did a little front flip ski action, but this map, oh my God, this might be one of the best maps, Freeride maps I've ever seen in an MX versus ATV game right here. It really gives you that feeling like you're on this almost unlimited, seamless area to ride on. You don't really feel like you're riding where you've got like a edge of a wall to hit, right? You don't really feel like you're riding in a small little box. You feel like you're on some just open-ended, endless area, like a freeride track should actually feel like. It actually feels like a true big freeride track, man. And I love how they did the water here, where it's like really close to the beach, got that super aqua blue color, looks exactly like it does in real life Hawaii. I've actually been there before. That's what it looks like. So that was really cool how they did that. Just one of the most unique freeride tracks they've ever had in a stock MX versus ATV game. Now, they had some of these vibes back in MX versus ATV Unleashed and stuff like that, and they're definitely bringing some of those original themes and biomes and stuff back to this game. So I was talking about how I had a couple crashes in the game. Like I said, the first one, I think it was they like were trying to put like a really early update into the game, so that's why it crashed. And then it crashed like 1 or 2 more times after that. I don't really know what caused it, but after that, it hasn't really been too bad after that. But I think they'll have all that cleared up fairly quickly. I don't think it's going to be crashing on you after like day maybe 2 or 3 or something like that. You're definitely not going to at least I don't think you're going to have to be worrying about anything like that. So, but okay, as far as, let's see, how the actual gameplay itself is, like fun factor, all of that kind of stuff. So when you jump in the air, I thought it was going to have a little bit more of a floaty effect from seeing gameplay and stuff like that. They might have changed this at the very last second, but I don't think they did. I just think it was kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, thinking it was a little bit different than it actually ended up being here. I think that it's not quite as floaty, even though there is a little bit of it. But I think it's way more when you just jump off of something big, or for whatever reason on the Supercross tracks, they kind of give you more of that floaty feeling. I know because it's probably a Supercross track, right? But for whatever reason, the Supercross tracks kind of feel like they got a lot more friction to the dirt to me. It feels like you're going a lot slower, even though you might be on the gas wide open. Now, one really interesting thing I found about the game pretty early on here is that I actually unlocked the 500, okay, and I had the 125 two-stroke as well, and I was thinking, oh, I'm just going to hop on this 500, and it's going to be way faster than the 125. Well, the interesting thing about it is the 500 literally feels like 3 times as heavy as the 125. So even though it may feel like it's got way more grunt and power, that extra weight on the bike almost like counteracts it, right? It's almost like how you think it should be in real life, where the bike feels way too heavy. That 500, dude, I'm telling you, it feels so heavy in this game, which is a super cool, like, balancing gameplay element to it, where you feel like I honestly don't know if everyone's just going to be on the 500. I really don't, because it's so heavy. Like, I feel like I can definitely do a lot more with the 125, and that's what I'm on here right now. Man, this bike is fun right here, dude. But as far as how the rhythm sections are on a supercross track and stuff like that, so yeah, they definitely feel like there is a skill. You know, when you first get on a supercross track in this game, you don't just instantly hit every rhythm on the first lap. It takes you a minute. Dude, look at this map. Oh my God. I can't believe this, dude. Like, just look at this, dude. This is amazing. These little tiki hut things were not even on the other side of the map at all. Wow, I didn't even know this was going to be on this map, dude. We got the fucking Titanic out here off in the distance. Like, this is amazing. Just those little intricate details. You know, having the sailboats on the other side gives it a little bit of variation. You kind of go from that, like, little bit of rocky decal on the ground to, like, a super almost sand dune style filling over here. And then you got, like, a really grassy area over on the other side. So that, like, even though it's a freeride track, it feels like it's got variation on different areas of the freeride track. Wow, man. That is really cool. But what I was saying, though, is, like, on a supercross track, the first lap you get on it, it takes you a minute to learn some of the lines and stuff. And if you compare it to, like, the official Monster Energy Supercross game, with that game, I think I won my very first race in that game, right? Like, hopped on there and just won the first race instantly. Well, the first 2 races in this game, I got dead last. I'm not talking, like, mid-pack finish. I'm talking dead last, and they were even pulling away from me. I think the difficulty was on, like, medium, whatever the default is. That's what I'm comparing it from in both games, but I'm just saying, on the first official Monster Energy Supercross game race that I did, I either got, like, first or second. I mean, something like that. I wasn't that far back at all, but the first 2 races of this, I got dead last. So that just kind of shows you how much more of a skill gap this game has, I feel like. It just takes you a minute to even, like, figure out what the heck you're doing, because it's a totally different game. And look at these trees out here, dude. Oh, wow. This is sick. This is cool. Now, one somewhat, I don't even know if you'd even call it a negative thing, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it, is yes, the look of the bike at certain moments while you're riding it can look a little bit unrealistic. Yes, that is true. Sometimes when you whip it, like, it looks crazy, like the bike just almost spazzes out all over the place. Yes, it can definitely look like that at times. But you can definitely get fluent whips in this game. You can definitely get different feeling whips, right? Like, see right there, it kind of did a little bit of a crazy thing when I hit the back brake. Kind of makes you feel like you're almost playing, I don't know, like a really old motocross game or something like that. It gives you that feeling a little bit, but not at all as much as I was thinking. I mean, it's way more skill-based, way more, I don't really know the word I'm looking for here. If you guys watched that, me thinking it was going to be like an Unleashed 2 type of video, I mean, there's certain similarities, but this is just, it's its own thing here, man. It really is. The whips feel like their own thing. I don't think you can really compare them to any other MX versus ATV game. It's like they've really tried to go in here and revamp the whole whip system, all that kind of stuff. They've tried to revamp the cornering system. Doesn't feel exactly like any other MX versus ATV game. Now, they do actually have a seat bounce button in the game. Like, it's like how it was in the old school games, but you do have the option to turn that off, and you have the option to make it, I think that was like in the old games where you could have where the throttle, you could just, if you come off of a jump and you had the throttle wide open, it actually had the throttle wide open and your bike sort of raised up in the air, but you can actually turn that off in this game like you could in some of the older ones. But yeah, I mean, in an overall sense, this is just a first impressions video, but I am somewhat more impressed with what I'm seeing than I thought. I mean, I will definitely say that. And by the way, it's coming a damn monsoon outside in real life that just popped out of nowhere. So if the electricity shuts off, I am screwed. And if you guys hear some crazy ass thunder in the background, I apologize for that. Can't really help these random thunderstorms that pop out of nowhere, but I'm trying to find that. Oh, yeah, it's right here. This is that one little area where it's just got this perfectly round little pond here. It just feels like, it's like, dude, I just want to let my bike just slowly seep down into this pond. And I'm just chilling, dude. Sitting in the hot tub, bro. We're chilling. Honolulu, baby. Oh, my gosh. Like, that's so cool. Now, some of the tracks, it's kind of hard to go through everything in a first impressions video. Just trying to get the big things across here. With the customization, they do actually have this like cosmic helmet and gear and bike skin that's like already unlocked when you first get into the game. Thought that to be kind of interesting there. You guys know how I'm this like really big space dude. I thought that was kind of cool. But they've got, you know, a couple of your different customization options. Obviously, you're not going to be able to have exact replica bikes like you did in the official Monster Energy Supercross game. So if that's a super important thing to you, this might not be as much of your game, but the whips do feel a lot looser than they have in some of the past games. They feel like you can do a lot more variation with them than you could in some of the past ones. It really feels like, whoa, this is going to take me a little while to master these whips. You know, it really gives you the feeling of like, okay, this ain't something I can just instantly like do to the maximum or like already like there's a technique to it. You can feel that there's a technique within the steering of coming off of a jump face. Like one thing you'll notice if you have that one setting like I was saying where you got the throttle where it can just be stuck wide open when you're in the air, well, you'll notice like if you'll let off in the air while you're trying to do a whip, it does somewhat of a different whip. And if you like turn your thumbsticks the opposite directions, like in the official Monster Energy Supercross game, that's how you kind of do your turn-up whip style in this game. So there's definitely some different variations. I don't even think I've figured out every variation to it. That just kind of goes to show you how much it does seem to have in that sense, but the whole game kind of feels like that. I mean, when you go around like a long sweeper corner on the motocross tracks, feels like you're constantly trying to kind of keep your traction. It never feels like you're just blindly steering and not really worrying about what's going on. I mean, every corner feels like it's got a little bit of skill to it. It feels like, okay, let me try to lean back all the way through this corner. Oh, wait, that totally jacked me up. You know, you're trying all these different techniques and stuff, and it really gives you a fun feeling to it. Now, personally, I don't really know why they have this seat bounce in this game. Yes, you can turn it off, but I don't really know why they put that in there. I think they're just trying to cater to some of the really old school fans, stuff like that. But overall, I mean, it's going to take me a little bit more time to get in here and really figure out how the game is. But as of right now, she's looking okay. She's looking better than I thought from some of the early gameplay. Like, you know how I was telling you guys, I was thinking, well, man, that really looks like an Unleashed 2. You see how I just slid over right there? Let me see if I can do that again. See, I thought that wasn't even really going to be possible in the game. You know how you can't really even do that in some of the older motocross games like Unleashed and stuff like that? You can't just turn it so sharp that you slide over. When you turn really sharp, the bike just turns, like you don't slide. But there is actually a slide function in this game, so you're constantly trying to like figure out that balance of turning in the corners. You don't want to turn so far that you slide, but you got to turn far enough if you're on the gas hard enough to not just fly off the track. So you really do feel like you got a little bit of variation there. Let's see if I can do it again on a different part here. Okay, got some rocky mountainsides here. Ooh, see if I can get some speed going here. But as soon as I got into the game, I mean, it truly felt like a new MX versus ATV game. I know here in the recent past, it just felt like the previous game, or, you know, MX versus ATV Supercross felt a shitload like Alive. I mean, it kind of had that Alive feeling to it. This is way more of what you would call its own thing. That's one of the biggest things I got to get across in this video. Yes, it does have a skill gap a lot more than you might think. Definitely got some learning curve to the game right off the bat. You can just tell, and it's interesting, man. Just by the way, the different biomes, different track designs, Supercross tracks feel like they pop you up in the air enough. The rhythms on them definitely take you a minute to learn it, right? Like, it's like, okay, let's see if I can hit this, and then you're kind of feeling like you can hit this over here. I feel like the Supercross tracks are probably a little bit more on the realistic side than like a reflex. At least from the ones I was riding on, they feel a little bit more real, like you're kind of jumping higher and shorter distances versus like super long, almost fantasy style distances. I was thinking this game was going to be way more fantasy feeling, but it does have a little bit of it, right? But it definitely has a realistic element to the gameplay as well, for sure. So yeah, I mean, as far as negatives that I'm noticing right off the bat, I don't really know. It's not like anything that's just super glaring, super like, oh, I hate that. That's god-awful. That's terrible. I know I was saying I really didn't want to see a seat bounce button, and yes, you can turn it off. Like I said, oh, look at those whips, dude. That's looking good, man. That's looking good, how that rotates around off of some of these jump faces here. But, man, there's just something about having a motocross game where you hop into it. The first track you get on is kind of like a motocross track, right? You're trying to like learn that first motocross track. Then it's like, okay, let's work our way up to supercross. You hop on the supercross track, feels totally different than the motocross tracks. So you're getting like a completely different gameplay element like that. Then you're like, okay, let's go over here to the freeride tracks. And you're like, oh shit, dude, this feels like a never-ending island exploration track here, man. It's really giving me that fun feeling. Whereas like the official Monster Energy Supercross game is like, okay, here's the Supercross track, and then here's another one, and then here's another one. Oh my god, man. DJ Khaled. Oh boy. Oh, can we even get up here? I don't know if I can get up here. Can we go out? Oh, baby. Am I stuck? Oh boy. I think I just found a bug. Can I not get off of this? Oh my god. This is hilarious. I think you got to hit it with a little bit more speed. I don't really know how the object, like, collision really works in this game. I know the very outside banners on the motocross tracks have, like, 0 collision on them. Thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, you can definitely get up here. Look at this, dude. This is, like, my dream track right here, man. Oh, my gosh. We got the Honolulu vibes fucking blowing, dog. This is sick. That Maui wowie. Oh, dude. Yes. Every time my dude falls in the water, I literally like feel like I'm swimming in Hawaii. I don't know. It's just such a cool feeling. Now, they do actually have a desert freeride track. I didn't see any desert motocross tracks, which was interesting. Maybe I just haven't unlocked them yet, but I don't know. That was a little bit bizarre. I was like, whoa, dude, this is crazy. Got a desert freeride track, but didn't see any of the actual nationals, whereas some of the other freeride tracks, you could definitely see like the national sort of comparison to them. They've got like 4 different tropical national tracks. They all feel somewhat different. They've got like 3 or 4 different of another biome, almost like it was in Alive, where they got like 4 or 5 different biomes of each and then they've got 4 or 5 different tracks within that one type of biome, right? So it's kind of got that feeling to it a little bit. Oh, some of these little water cross sections, can't really tell if I'm actually going to be able to go over it. This game doesn't really have like a flood type of system to it. But, yeah, I mean, if some of you guys are wondering, should I buy it? I mean, if you're a motocross fan at all, I'm definitely leaning more to the yeah. If it felt more like Unleashed, or if it felt more like MX vs. ATV Supercross or Encore or Alive, if it felt more like those than it does, then I probably wouldn't recommend it as much, but it really feels more like its own thing here. I mean, this almost feels like what Alive should have been. That's really what it's starting to feel like to me. I mean, the gear feels different, right? You feel like you're really getting something different. The interface, the music, everything about it, you're really getting a different feeling. Doesn't just feel like a rehashed older MX versus ATV game, man. And I love that about it. That's really what I want. I either wanted that or I wanted like a Reflex replica, like a Reflex 2. It's really not that. If you're looking for that, I don't really know if it's so much like that. It may have some similarities to Reflex, but it's not even close to being able to say it's like a Reflex 2, I don't think. That's just my opinion on it, but I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to try to master this game, get better at it. There's definitely going to be that entire element to it. And I haven't even rode on the four-wheelers or the UTVs, haven't even rode on the 252 strokes, haven't even rode on the 454 strokes. There's like so much content that when you're comparing it to the official Monster Energy Supercross game, it's like you just don't even know what to do. You're like a little kid in a candy shop, and there's Jolly Ranchers and lollipops and Tootsie Rolls, and God, you just don't even know which way to go, man. Whereas the official Monster Energy Supercross game, it was like going to a little gas station or something, and this game is like going to a fucking toy store, fucking Toys R Us, where a kid can be a kid, bro. I mean, it's like endless content is what it feels like. It just feels like what a motocross game is supposed to be like, man. And yeah, I know it's not the... I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, this is the most perfect physics system. This is just going to blow everything completely out of the water. Like, it's not quite, I don't think it's quite to that extent, but it is definitely a little better than I was thinking. It is. It is a little bit better than I was thinking. As far as just like I was saying, not as floaty in the air as I thought, more of a skill gap than I thought. The whole slide feature in the corner, if you turn too sharp, didn't really think that was going to be in there. Like this right here, look at that. You just like slide all the way over, dude. That is crazy, man. And when you do that, there's actually like a real gameplay downside to that. Like when you do that in a corner, nearly the whole field passes you because you lose every bit of your momentum. There is a true momentum type of feeling to the game where you feel like you're really trying to keep that in the game. And if you lose it, you feel like you've lost all of your speed. You know, like if you rail around the outside of a corner, it feels like you got way more momentum than just going up the inside. And that was definitely a little bit of a concerning thing there. But yeah, you do get little bits of flashes of feeling like it's a really, really old, outdated motocross game. Yes, you do, here and there. Some of the visuals of it can kind of give you that feeling here and there. Yes, but in an overall type of sense, I don't think it's as much as it looked like from the start whatsoever from some of that early gameplay. I really don't think it's like that at all. And like, yeah, man, I mean, this is just very, very first impressions, man. So opinions are going to definitely be, not necessarily changing, but just, they're going to evolve once I play the game a lot more. But as of right now, it's looking cool. The terrain deformation on some of the tracks definitely feels like it's in that medium kind of balance area of some sort. Feels like the ruts are definitely doing something, but it doesn't feel like they're so crazy where it just totally ruins the track in 5 laps. So that's a positive. The terrain deformation is definitely looking pretty good from a first glance on some of the Supercross and motocross tracks that I've rode on. But yeah, man, that's about it for the first impressions, dude. It's about all the opinions I can give on it, really, from the amount of time I've played it. I've rode on 4 or 5 different Supercross tracks, rode on 4 or 5 different of the motocross tracks. This is the only freeride track I've really rode on here. Haven't really got too deep into like freestyle or anything like that. Oh, okay. They got the cool little thing where you can, look at this. Oh my God, dude. I mean, you can see right there how I'm talking about you can definitely get that feeling of it's a little more silly. It's a little more like sometimes when you can find yourself trying to throw a whip and the bike just flips all the way over, which is way better than having that official Monster Energy Supercross game type of thing where you just get shot by a sniper in the stadium and instantly pop off the bike if you turn the bike a millihair too far in the air. This game doesn't have that at all, man. Kudos to them for that. You can turn that motherfucker any way you want to in the air, and you're not going to just pop off. So that really opens up the doors to different whip styles and different whip mechanics. You can kind of either get under it more or get it pancaked out more, or just get it sideways more. There's sometimes you'll find yourself coming off of a jump face like, oh, dude, I've never really done a whip that style before. That's kind of cool. So, I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here just thinking this game is the most perfect thing ever, but it is a good progression for MX versus ATV games, man. This is good for them. This is what I want to see out of them, right? This is good stuff here. If they continue doing this kind of work, we got some big potential in the future. That's what's running through my head right now. Like, oh, thank God. Like they're finally coming back around in every kind of way. It's like the game actually feels different. The writing feels a little bit different, but it's not so different that it feels like alien to you. Like it's not even an MX versus ATV game. Still keeps some of the similarities, but you can tell they're trying to innovate. They're trying to change the game a little bit, right? They're trying to go like their own way with it. It's not just a Reflex 2. It's not just an Unleash 2. It's not like a MX vs. ATV Supercross Encore 2 or whatever. It's its own thing, man. But yeah, overall, that's pretty much the first impressions. Graphics are okay. Like I was saying, yeah, they're probably not as good as the official Monster Energy Supercross game. Now, on this track in particular, I mean, I would put this against just about any motocross game out there. This exact track in particular here looks really, really good. But, yeah, just some of the... I mean, the way the rider moves, it looks okay. I mean, it looks pretty fluent, feels pretty fluent. Doesn't feel like you're like super restricted. Feels like, and that's coming from a simulator guy, man, on top of everything else. Like, I could just imagine just being a arcade fan only and hopping on this game and really, really feeling like it had a skill gap. I mean, me being a simulator dude and feeling like it has a skill gap is a good sign. Now, it's not crazy. It's not like, oh my gosh, this is going to take years to learn. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying it's definitely more than some of these other recent motocross games out there as far as a skill gap learning curve type of sense. I haven't really tested the wheelies and the stoppies very much. Let's see. Now, I thought it was kind of cool how they put like more so techno, trance, dubsteppy type of music in the game. That was interesting. They do still have the rock, the old school kind of rock style stuff, but they did actually add some really cool sounding like techno progressive house style music. I thought it just gave the game kind of a cool little feel, especially on a track like this or whatever that you're riding on. But as you can see, I mean, I've just been sitting here riding on this whole track. Doesn't feel like I'm riding on the exact same spot 1,000 times. Like the Freeride Map, did you see that little moment right there where I kind of whipped over and it just didn't really crash? Yeah, you're going to have your little... It looks a little funky moments in the air, right? You're going to have your little funky... the collision can look funky at times. All that little stuff can look a little weird in the game, but it is nothing like I thought from MX vs. ATV Unleashed, right? I was thinking it was almost going to be like a carbon copy of that. It ain't really like that, dude. I mean, some similarities, but the whipping feels quite a bit different than those games. You got your dual stick controls. You got... the throttle on and off makes quite a bit of a difference in this game. Oh, dude, look at that. I just think this section right here on this track is so cool. But, yeah, I know some of you guys that are like official Monster Energy Supercross game fanboys are going to get all pissed off at my opinion on this, but it's a truthful opinion. It's not just honeymoon staged opinion. I really tried to be careful of that in this video. Just like I did with the official Monster Energy Supercross game, treating them both the exact same. And it's not like I'm just loving this game because I, for some reason, hate that game or whatever some of you guys might be thinking. It's not that. I'm just looking at it from is what it is. And it just feels like a good improvement from the last game. You know, you really feel like you're getting a different game here. You don't feel like it's a 3.5 or feeling like exactly like one of the older games. Like I'm saying, it has similarities, but it's not the exact same. And that's the best way to explain it to you guys. But either way, going to be making a ton of more videos, going to be making a ton of more videos on this game really soon, so be looking out for that. Might have 2 or 3 today. Oh, dude, look at the whip. You can get her backwards for sure. That's sick. That is really cool. And I couldn't do that when I first got into the game. That's one of the most important things to explain to you. Like, when I first got into it, I couldn't whip for shit. I was like, dude, I don't even know what I'm doing. I was trying to whip like I would in reflex, and it wasn't really doing it. Like, I would whip over just a little bit. Like, it was kind of weird at first, but now I'm starting to kind of get the hang of it a little bit. Now it's like, okay, now I'm feeling how to come off these jump faces. So it's cool, dude. Got that skill gap. Thank God. That's all that really mattered to me at the end of the day, was content and having a skill gap, man. That was the biggest thing. I didn't really care so much about what it quote-unquote felt like or looked like as much as I just wanted it to have a skill gap. I just wanted it to feel like it was going to take some time to learn and do all that with it, and it feels like it, dude, for sure. I mean, it's no MX simulator, but it's solid for an arcade motocross game. So if you kind of got that thought in your head like I did from seeing early gameplay, like it was just going to be like an Unleashed 2 and feel exactly like Unleashed, but updated graphics, I wouldn't think that. I wouldn't think like that. I would definitely try the game before you just totally have that opinion on it at this point. I would say yes, if you're a motocross gaming fan, it's worth your money for sure. Without a doubt. I mean, dude, look at these Freeride maps. It's like I'm just sitting here like it truly gives me that Freeride feeling. Like, I don't know where I'm going, don't care where I'm going. I'm just talking and riding, and it's just fun, man. It's cool. Gives you that feeling. And I mean, yeah, the national tracks, there's certain spots that can feel a little bit like flat. I don't know how much really braking bumps there really is on some of these national tracks. That's one area that might seem a little bit lacking from like a real-life motocross track. You know, they can definitely feel maybe a little bit smooth, maybe a little bit wide. Supercross tracks might feel very smidgen too wide as far as like in a realistic sense, but that's cool though. Like, the game has a little bit of that fantasy feeling. Not, I don't think quite as much as Reflex, but it has a little bit of it, right? Like, the scale of some things are a little bit more than you might think. But maybe the roughness will really develop when you run a bunch of laps on a track. Maybe that's really where you're going to start seeing the braking bumps. But as far as just like little choppy style braking bumps, there's not a whole lot of that on the national tracks that I've rode on. They've all been like somewhat smooth in that sense. I mean, they do have the roller section, you know, kind of things, kind of like that right there. But as far as actual just like little choppy roughness, not a whole lot of it in this game. And I can understand it to a certain extent in some arcade games, because it's almost like you couldn't even feel it anyways, because I mean, it's kind of like going over whoops to a certain extent. They're nowhere near as difficult on an arcade game as they would be like simulator. But the whoops in this game, a couple times, like I did actually hit them a wrong way. I know that sounds crazy, but because most time when you hit a whoop section in most arcade games, you just feel like, oh, dude, oh man, it's so cool how you can do the turn up whips. Oh, that's sick. But what I was saying though is like most of the time when you hit a whoop section, it's like you're not even thinking, you're just leaning back and holding the gas down. And yes, it is that to a certain extent in this game, but there was a couple times where I kind of got out of rhythm in the whoops, and it just like popped my bike up and almost totally lost all my momentum. So there is a little bit of a skill to entering the whoops in this game right here for sure, but she's got some potential, man. I'm proud of the guys over there working at the game. You know, you got Nordic. I don't know if it's the old dudes from Rainbow exactly, or if they just like took the name. Not really sure how all that happened, but I'm impressed. This is the most impressed I'm gonna say this right now. This is the most impressed I've been with them since like that Reflex Alive style era, you know. This is definitely a good step in the right direction. Got a lot of positive thoughts for the company now and the game, and it's just looking good, dude. You know, and it's not to get my words twisted. I'm not saying it's the most perfect thing ever, and oh my god, dude, I'm just blowing my load over this game. Like, yeah, it's cool, it's sick, but I mean, there's definitely some faults in certain occasions here and there, and some little stuff you can kind of see. But from what we've been getting, man, I would say she's worth your money for sure. That's just my opinion on it. So either way, I appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.